Usually when we sit down to do a deep dive, we're looking outward. We're scanning the horizon for the next big disruption in tech, or we're picking apart a complex geopolitical shift, or maybe we're dusting off some dense historical event to see how it shapes the present.
Right.
We are almost always looking out there.
That is the standard operating procedure. We try to make sense of the world around us to navigate it better. It's an external orientation.
Exactly. But today we are doing something completely different. We are turning the lens 180 degrees. We are looking inward.
Mm.
And I don't mean inward in a metaphorical soul-searching sense, though there is some of that. I mean literally you. We're looking at the machinery inside your own head and how it physically connects to the cells in your body.
It's probably the most accessible tool any of us have. It is free, it is always with us, and yet, paradoxically, it's probably the tool we understand and utilize the least.
We are talking about the mystery of the sugar pill. Now, look, everyone listening has heard of the placebo effect. It's almost a cliche at this point.
It really is.
It's the punchline of a joke. Or it's that annoying footnote in medical research. You hear about it in drug trials all the time. Oh, the new drug didn't perform significantly better than the placebo. And usually that's where the conversation ends. It's treated like this annoying static, this interference that scientists have to filter out to get to the real medicine.
That's a great way to put it. In the traditional medical model, the placebo is the nuisance variable. It's the thing you want to eliminate.
Right.
It's the nothing that somehow acts like something, and it messes up the data when you're trying to prove that a chemical compound works. If the sugar pill cures the patient, it's seen as a failure of the trial rather than a miraculous success of the body.
Right. And that is the framing we are flipping on its head today. We are diving deep into You Are the Placebo, Making Your Mind Matter by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And the central premise here is one of those things that once you really let it sink in, it might just keep you up at night. The question is this. If a sugar pill, a fake, inert piece of chalk or saline, can make a sick person better just because they believe it will, why do we need the pill?
That is the million-dollar question. That is the core mission of this deep dive. If the belief alone triggers the biological healing, can we bypass the external prop, the pill, the injection, the surgery, the white coat, and trigger that biological change consciously?
Can we learn to do it on purpose?
And we learn to press those buttons ourselves.
Dispenza argues that the answer is a definitive yes. But, and I want to be really clear right off the bat for everyone listening, this isn't just think happy thoughts and your problems disappear.
No, absolutely not. We need to steer clear of that toxic positivity trap.
This isn't a Hallmark card. We are talking about the hard science of how thoughts literally become matter. We're going to be talking about neuroscience, we're going to talk about epigenetics, and we're even going to touch on quantum physics. It's about the biological mechanics of the mind-body connection.
It is a dense book. It's a New York Times bestseller for a reason, but it sits right at that intersection of self-help and hard science. Dispenza is a chiropractor by training, but his postgraduate work covers neurology, neuroscience, and cellular biology. He's trying to bridge the gap between miraculous healing and understandable, replicable science.
And it really challenges the old medical model, doesn't it? The one where you are essentially a victim of your genes. You know the drill. My dad had a bad heart, so I'm going to have a bad heart. It's in the card.
Genetic lottery.
Yeah.
Exactly. This book posits that you are not a victim of your genes. You are the potential creator of your own health.
But, and this is the catch, it requires a level of discipline and awareness that, frankly, most of us aren't used to.
Oh, for sure.
It's not a magic wand, it's a practice. So our mission today is to decode this practice. We want to understand, how do you become the placebo? How do you trick your body, or maybe convince is a better word, into healing itself?
And we're going to do that by breaking down the biology, looking at the obstacles, specifically why it's so incredibly hard to change our habits, and then looking at the specific tools Dispenza offers to hack the system.
Let's start with the hook then, the placebo itself. I think we need to establish just how powerful this effect actually is. Because I think people assume it's just feeling a little better, like, oh, I took the sugar pill and my headache is a little less throbbing.
Right, like it's a subjective thing.
But we're talking about serious physiological changes, aren't we?
We are. It's not just, it's all in your head in terms of imagination. It's in your body.
Mm-hmm.
To understand the scope, you have to look at the history. There's a classic story often cited in this field, and Dispenza brings it up early on. It involves Henry Beecher, a medic serving in World War II.
I love this story. It sets the stage so perfectly.
It really does. So imagine this scene. It's World War II, the Italian campaign. It's chaotic. It's bloody. Beecher's in a field hospital. They have soldiers coming in with horrific injuries, limbs blown off, shrapnel wounds, gaping chest wounds. These men are in excruciating pain.
I can't even imagine.
And then the worst possible thing happens. The field hospital runs out of morphine.
Which is a death sentence for pain management. You have soldiers screaming, going into shock from the pain alone.
Exactly. Beecher's desperate. He can't just watch them suffer. So one of the nurses, and she is really the unsung hero of this story, grabs a syringe and fills it with saline solution.
Just salt water.
Just salt water. And she hands it to Beecher. They approach a wounded soldier who is in agony. And Beecher looks him in the eye and says with total conviction, I'm going to give you a shot of morphine. This will stop the pain.
He lied to him.
He lied to save him. He injected the salt water. And here's the incredible part. The soldier's pain subsided. He calmed down. He didn't go into shock. His blood pressure stabilized. In fact, she reacted almost exactly as if he had received the drug.
From salt water.
From salt water.
Right.
But here is the critical scientific point. The soldier didn't just say he felt better to be polite. His body physically responded as if it had received a powerful opioid.
So what was happening biologically?
That means his body, triggered by the belief that help had arrived, began producing its own endogenous opioids endorphins to block the pain.
That's the part that always blows my mind. The result is real. The chemical change in the body is measurable. You could take a blood test and see the endorphins. But the cause wasn't a drug introduced from the outside. The cause was an idea.
It was an expectation. It was a belief. And this is what Dispenza hammers home. When you take a pill, you have a conditioned response. Think about the rituals going to the doctor. You drive to the clinic. You sit in the waiting room. You smell that specific antiseptic smell. You see the diplomas on the wall. You trust the person in the white coat.
You go to the pharmacy. You get the amber bottle with the complicated instructions.
It's a whole ceremony.
It is, yeah.
And that entire ritual signals the autonomic nervous system. Your brain basically says, okay, the boss says we're getting fixed. The cavalry is here. Release the healing chemicals.
The boss says we're getting fixed. I love that. It's like the brain has an internal pharmacy that's usually locked and the doctor just hands you the key.
It's not just a metaphor. It is a literal internal pharmacy. Let's look at the inventory. Your body produces endorphins, which are opioids often stronger than morphine. It produces anandamide, which is a natural anti-anxiety compound, basically your internal Valium.
I had no idea about that one.
It produces melatonin for sleep. It produces immune factors that fight cancer and bacteria. The placebo effect proves unequivocally that you have the machinery to create these chemicals on demand. The sugar pill is just the permission slip.
So Dispenza's argument is, why are we waiting for the permission slip? Why can't we just kick the door open ourselves? Why do we need the deception of the sugar pill to access our own inventory?
Precisely. That is the core argument. If the catalyst for healing is belief and expectation, then theoretically, if you can cultivate a strong enough belief and a vivid enough expectation, you should be able to trigger those same biological cascades without the external agent.
You become the placebo.
You become the pill.
Okay, but here is where I have to play a skeptic, and I think the listener is probably thinking this too, because it sounds a little too easy, just believe. But I can't just sit here and say, I believe my knee is healed and have it stop hurting. I mean, I've tried that.
Right.
I've tried to positive think my way out of a cold. I am not sick. I am not sick. And then I sneeze. It doesn't usually work.
Yeah.
So there has to be a mechanism we're missing. It's not just surface level thinking.
You've hit on the most important distinction in the entire book.
Yeah.
And this is where people get tripped up with the law of attraction or positive thinking movements.
Yeah.
It is not about conscious positive thinking while your subconscious is screaming, this hurts, I'm sick, this is never going to end.
Right. It's like putting a smiley face sticker on a check engine light. The engine is still broken. You're just ignoring it.
Exactly. The change has to happen on a neurological level. It has to happen in the operating system, not just on the screen. We have to talk about how the brain processes reality.
Okay.
It's the difference between thinking and being. And to get there, we have to look at the biology of belief.
Let's break that down. How do we get from a thought, an immaterial thing, just a wisp of electricity, to a physical change in a cell?
It starts with a fundamental principle of neuroscience that Dispenza leans on heavily. The brain does not distinguish between a real physical experience and a vividly imagined one.
Okay, hold on. That sounds like a bold claim. You're saying if I imagine eating an apple, My brain on a scan looks the same as if I'm actually eating an apple.
In terms of the specific neural signatures and the physiological response, yes, to a shocking degree, Dispenza uses the classic lemon experiment. Let's do it right now. I want you and the listener to close your eyes for a second.
Okay, eyes closed.
Now, imagine you were standing in your kitchen. On the cutting board is a bright yellow lemon. It's bumpy. You can see the pores. Now pick up a knife and slice it in half. See the juice spurt out. Smell that sharp, sour citrus scent filling the air. Now pick up a slice. It's dripping wet. Open your mouth and take a big bite. The cold, sour juice hits your tongue. Your cheeks pucker.
Okay, stop. My mouth is watering. Literally, my salivary glands just kicked in. I can feel it in my jaw.
There is no lemon. There is no acid hitting your tongue. But your body reacted physiologically. Salivary glands activating, enzymes releasing, based purely on a thought.
Wow.
The thought became a physical reality in your body. Now, scale that up. That was just a lemon. If a thought can make you salivate, can a thought make your immune system attack a virus? Can a thought signal your body to lower cortisol?
Dispenza says yes. But it's not just any thought. It follows a specific formula. It's not just a fleeting, I hope I get better.
Right. The formula he proposes is clear intention plus elevated emotion, biological change.
Let's unpack that. Clear intention, that's the thought, right? That's the what.
That's the blueprint. That's the what.
Yeah.
I want to be healthy. I want my back to heal. I want a new job. It is the intellectual concept.
Okay.
But the thought alone is just the electrical charge in the brain. It's the signal. But a signal needs a carrier wave. It's not enough to just have the thought. You need the magnetic charge, which is the emotion.
Why is the emotion so important? This is the part that I think is hard for people to grasp. We tend to think of emotions as these messy things that get in the way. Why can't I just logically tell my body what to do? Body, fix the knee.
Because the body doesn't speak English. It speaks chemistry. And emotions are the chemical signature of an experience.
The chemical signature.
Think about it. If you have a terrible, scary experience, say you get into a car accident, you feel fear. That fear isn't just a concept. It's a chemical cocktail adrenaline, cortisol flooding your system. Your body remembers the chemical, not the words. The emotion grounds the thought into the body.
So the emotion is the proof that the event is happening. It's the verification for the body.
Exactly. This is the key. If you are trying to heal, but you are walking around feeling frightened, anxious, or victimized, your body is receiving the chemical signal of danger.
Right.
You can say, I'm healthy 1,000 times in your head, but if your heart is racing and your gut is tight with fear, your body is bathing in stress hormones. Your body believes the illness is still there because the feeling is still there.
So to become the placebo, you have to generate the emotion of the healing before the healing actually occurs.
Yes, and that is the hardest thing to do. That is the crux of the work. You have to feel gratitude for your health before you are healthy. You have to feel the joy of the new job before you get the offer letter.
Because gratitude is the signature of receiving.
Exactly. We only feel gratitude after we receive a gift. So when you cultivate gratitude in a deep meditation, your body, which, remember, is the unconscious mind, thinks, oh, the healing must already happened. We're feeling gratitude. The event must be over.
And so it begins to reorganize itself biologically to match that new reality.
It turns off the stress response and turns on the repair response.
Yeah, it is. It's a biological hack. You're tricking the body's operating system by reversing the order of cause and effect. Usually it's cause, I get better, effect, I feel good. Dispenza is saying cause, I feel good, effect, I get better.
Precisely. And this relies on the concept of neuroplasticity. We used to think the brain was hardwired after childhood. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Now we know that's completely false.
Yeah, that's been debunked pretty thoroughly.
The brain is plastic, it's moldable. The rule is, neurons that fire together wire together. If you repeatedly think and feel a certain way, even if it's imagined, you build physical neural networks that support that state.
It's like walking through a wheat field. The first time you walk through, it's hard, you have to push the stalks aside. But if you walk the same path every day, you mat down the grass.
Yeah.
Eventually it becomes a dirt road, then a paved road. It becomes the path of least resistance.
And the opposite is true. Pruning. Use it or lose it. If you stop practicing being a stressed out, anxious person, those stress highways eventually get broken up. The body stops sending resources to those connections. They wither away.
But this goes even deeper than neurons, doesn't it? This brings us to the most technical part of the book, epigenetics. Because I think a lot of people listening have this idea that I have the gene for X, so I'm doomed.
Right.
My mom had breast cancer, my grandmother had it, so it's coming for me.
Right. Genetic determinism.
Yeah.
That was the central dogma of biology for decades.
Yeah.
The idea that your DNA is the master controller, the unchangeable script of your life.
The blueprint.
But Dispenza and modern biology, frankly, says that's wrong. The DNA isn't the architect, it's the blueprint library. And a blueprint doesn't build a building. A blueprint just sits there. A contractor has to walk into the library, pull the blueprint off the shelf, read it, and decide to pour the concrete.
I love that analogy. So just because the blueprint for a scary castle is in the library doesn't mean we have to build it. We could build the nice cottage next to it instead.
Exactly. You might go your whole life never pulling that blueprint off the shelf.
And in this analogy, who is the contractor? Who decides which blueprint to read?
The environment. This is what epigenetics literally means. Epi means above. Control above the genes. The signal from the environment tells the gene to switch on, express, or switch off, silence.
Now, usually when scientists talk about environment, they mean the external world. Are you smoking? Are you eating kale? Is there radiation in your house?
Correct. And those things matter, absolutely. But Dispenza asks a critical, game-changing question. What is the immediate environment of your cells? Your cells aren't directly touching the kale or the cigarette smoke.
No.
They are bathing in blood and fluid. The chemical composition of that fluid is their environment. And what controls that chemistry?
Our thoughts and feelings.
Bingo. The brain controls the chemical composition of the blood via the nervous system and the endocrine system. So if you live in a state of chronic stress, which is an emotion, you are sending a specific chemical signal to your genes.
You're polluting your own internal water supply.
You are. You are flooding the cell with cortisol and adrenaline. You are telling the contractor, we are in danger, we are under attack.
And what does the contractor do?
The contractor pulls the blueprints for survival. It upregulates the genes for inflammation to fight off wounds. It prepares the body for battle. And crucially, it downregulates the genes for growth and repair.
Why does it do that?
Because if a tiger is chasing you, you don't care about digesting your lunch or fighting off cancer cells or repairing your skin. You care about running. Long-term projects get put on hold.
That makes total sense for a tiger. But if the tiger is my mortgage or my boss or just my own insecurity?
Then you are stuck in that state. You are chronically signaling your genes to shut down repair and increase inflammation. That is the recipe for disease. You are literally telling your genes to make you sick, or at least to stop keeping you well.
That is heavy, because it implies that we aren't victims of our genes, we're victims of our interpretation of our lives. If I interpret traffic as a life or death threat, I'm activating the traffic is killing me genes.
In a manner of speaking, yes.
Yes.
The body can handle acute stress. A tiger chasing you for 10 minutes. It's built for that. It cannot handle chronic imaginary stress, worrying about the future, regretting the past year for 10 years.
Wow.
That signal wears down the genetic machinery. But, and here's the hope, the silver lining of the book, if you can change the signal, you change the readout. You can literally switch genes on or off within days.
So we know the mechanism. Thoughts trigger emotions. Emotions signal genes. Genes build the body. It sounds logical. It sounds like a machine we can operate. So why aren't we all walking around in perfect health?
Yes.
Why is this so incredibly hard to do? Why is the secret or manifesting usually so ineffective for people?
Because of the obstacle. This is part 4 of our deep dive, and frankly, it's the most uncomfortable part. Dispenza calls this section breaking the habit of being yourself. And this is where the book shifts from biology to psychology and almost to addiction recovery.
Breaking the habit of being yourself. That's a confrontational title. It implies that being me is a bad habit I picked up.
In many ways, it is. We live on autopilot. Think about your morning routine. You wake up on the same side of the bed. You check your phone immediately.
Yes. Guilty.
You see a terrifying headline or a stressful email. You get a text from a person who annoys you. You drink your coffee out of the same mug. You drive the same route to work. You get angry at the same traffic. You see the same coworkers. You think the same thoughts.
It's Groundhog Day. We are robots running a script.
And biologically, that means you are reinforcing the same neural networks and signaling the same genes every single day. Your body becomes a record of the past.
Okay.
If you think the thoughts of yesterday, you will create the life of yesterday. Dispenza says most people aren't living in the present, they're living in a memory. They're recreating the past and calling it the future.
But it's deeper than just routine, isn't it? He talks about emotional addiction. That part really struck me. It sounds like hyperbole, but he means it literally. The idea that we can be addicted to. misery or stress.
Yes, this is a crucial, crucial concept. If you take one thing away from this episode, let it be this. Remember, we said emotions are chemicals.
Right, peptides.
Well, your cells have receptors for those chemicals. Imagine tiny little docking ports on the outside of the cell, like a lock waiting for a key. If you are angry all the time, your cells are getting bombarded with anger chemicals.
Okay, so the cell is just swimming in rage juice.
Right. Eventually, the cell adapts. It's intelligent. It says, whoa, we're getting a lot of anger here. We better build more anger receptors so we can process this information.
So it's a supply and demand thing?
It is. The cell literally changes its structure to be better at receiving anger. And it prunes away the receptors for joy or peace because it's not using them. It becomes desensitized.
Like building up a tolerance to caffeine or alcohol, you need more to feel the same effect.
Exactly. And just like a drug addict, if the anger stops coming, say you decide to go on a vacation and relax, the cell starts to go into withdrawal. It sends a signal to the brain. Hey, where's the rage? I need my fix. We have all these receptors waiting.
Wow. So when I suddenly decide I'm going to be a happy, peaceful person today, my cells are literally rioting. They're staging a protest.
They are. They are screaming. And this drives behavior. You might find yourself picking a fight with your partner or reading news that upsets you or ruminating on a past trauma.
Subconsciously.
Not because you consciously want to be unhappy, but because your body is craving the chemical rush of adrenaline and cortisol. You are physically addicted to your own stress.
That explains so much. It explains why it's so hard to change. You're not just fighting a mental habit, you're fighting a biological withdrawal symptom.
The body is the master, and the mind has become the servant.
Wow.
That is the core struggle. Dispenza says that to heal, the mind has to retake the throne. You have to tell the body what to do, not the other way around. But the body fights back. It creates doubt, fear, anxiety, physical pain, anything to get you to stop changing and go back to the familiar chemical state.
Because the body wants the familiar.
Even if the familiar is toxic.
So we're up against a lot. We've got neural pathways that are paved like superhighways for negativity, and we've got cells that are essentially junkies for stress hormones. It sounds daunting. How do we break the cycle? What is the solution?
The primary tool Dispenza advocates for is meditation. But, and I need to stress this, he doesn't mean just sitting quietly and relaxing.
Right.
He views meditation as a mental rehearsal and a way to access the operating system. It's an active process of reprogramming.
Yeah, he gets pretty technical about brainwaves here. It's not just zone out. It's about getting into a specific state where the door to the subconscious is open. Because usually that door is locked, right?
Right. We need to talk about the four main brain states. Most of our waking life, we are in beta. Beta is high-frequency, analytical, focused on the outer world.
It's get stuff done mode.
It's, I need to pay the bills, I'm cold, my back hurts, what time is it? In beta, the analytical mind is fully active. You are separate from the world. It's survival mode. It's me versus the environment. And in beta, you can't really change your programming because you're too busy analyzing it. It's like trying to fix a car engine while you're driving down the highway at 80 miles per hour. It's too chaotic.
So we need to slow the car down. We need to pull over.
We need to get to alpha and theta. These are slower brainwave states. Alpha is that twilight state, creative, imaginative calm when you're just about to fall asleep.
Or when you're kind of lost in a daydream.
Exactly. Theta is even slower. It's the state of hypnosis, or deep dreaming. In these states, the analytical mind quiets down. You disconnect from the sensory world. You stop thinking about your body, your environment, and time.
Dispenza has a mantra for this state. To become no body, no one, no thing, nowhere in no time.
I love that phrase. It sounds terrifying to the ego, but it's liberating for the soul. It means you disconnect from your identity. The guy with the bad back, the woman with the debt, the person with the stressful job. You become pure consciousness. You enter the void.
And that is the only place where you can change the program.
Exactly. If you try to change your beliefs while you're stressed in beta mode, it's like shouting at a computer screen hoping the code changes. You have to open the terminal, that's the alpha-theta state, to rewrite the code.
That's the gatekeeper.
You have to get past the critical faculty, the gatekeeper that separates the conscious from the subconscious.
So walk us through the actual process. Once we're in this state, we've quieted down, we're in the black void of no thing. What do we actually do? We don't just stay there forever.
No. Once you are in that malleable state, you engage in mental rehearsal. First, you have to observe the old self. That's called metacognition. You have to catch yourself. Oh, I'm feeling that victimhood again. I'm feeling that urge to complain.
You see the thought without becoming the thought.
You stop it. You prune that connection. You deny the body its fix. You catch the autopilot trying to take over. And then you begin to program the new self. You vividly imagine the future you want. You see yourself not in the third person, but through your own eyes, living a life of health. You see yourself running or playing with your kids or waking up pain-free.
And this goes back to the lemon. You imagine it so vividly that the brain thinks it's real.
Yes, but remember the key ingredient: emotion. You can't just see the picture. You have to feel the feeling. You have to conjure up the joy, the relief, the overwhelming gratitude you would feel if that healing occurred.
Ah, okay.
You teach your body what that future feels like now. You anchor the thought with energy.
This is the clear intention plus elevated emotion formula in action.
Exactly. When you marry a clear picture with a high-frequency emotion, you are signaling a new gene. You are rewiring the brain. And if you do this every day, mental rehearsal, you are laying down the track.
So the repetition is key.
It's everything. By the time you open your eyes and get up from the meditation, your body has biologically experienced the future. You are no longer living in the past. You are living in a future that hasn't manifested externally yet, but internally, it's already happened.
That is the placebo effect without the pill. You've convinced your biology that the healing is done.
And the body, being the loyal servant, gets to work, making the physical reality match the internal chemical reality. It says, wait, the chemical environment says we are healthy, but the knee is still damaged. We need to fix the knee to match the environment.
It's a lot to process. But it's not just theory. The book is packed with case studies, and I think stories are what make this stick. Let's talk about those. What kind of results are we talking about here?
We're seeing recoveries from things that traditional medicine often struggles with. We aren't just talking about tension headaches. We're talking about MS, Parkinson's, huge thyroid conditions, chronic pain from severe accidents.
So serious diagnosed conditions.
We are talking about incurable conditions.
Was there a specific story that really landed for you?
There's the story of a woman, let's call her Jan, who had a severe autoimmune condition. She was essentially allergic to everything, could barely eat, barely walk. She had lesions on her skin. Her life had shrunk to a tiny box of safety.
Wow.
She had tried every doctor, every specialist. Nothing worked. She was deteriorating.
The classic rock bottom.
Yes. And she attended one of Dispenza's workshops. She realized, through doing this deep introspective work, that she had been living in a state of deep, deep resentment toward her ex-husband and her parents for years.
Oh.
She was addicted to the victimhood. It was her identity. I am the sick person who was treated badly.
And her body was reflecting that defense mechanism. I am under attack, so I will attack myself.
Exactly. Her immune system was attacking her because she was constantly in a state of attack mentally.
Yeah.
So she committed to the meditation. And it wasn't easy. She talks about sitting there in pain, her body screaming at her to get up, her mind telling her this is stupid, that she should just take a pill.
The withdrawal symptoms we talked about?
Yes. But she pushed through. She started to visualize herself skiing.
Skiing, where she couldn't walk.
Skiing. She loved skiing before she got sick. So she would close her eyes and feel a cold wind on her face. She felt the weight of the boots. She felt the adrenaline of the slope. She practiced the feeling of freedom and joy. She did this for hours a day.
No, what happened?
It took months. I want to be clear about that. It wasn't overnight. This isn't a montage in a movie. It was a grind.
Sure.
But slowly, the symptoms receded. Her energy returned. Her blood markers changed. The lesions healed. And eventually, she fully recovered.
Yeah.
She actually did go skiing.
That is incredible. And Dispenza would say that she signaled her genes to down-regulate the inflammation and up-regulate the repair. She changed her internal environment.
She literally became a different person. The old self had the disease. The new self did not. She left the old self behind, along with the biology that went with it,
She stopped telling the story of her sickness.
and started living the story of her health.
It's inspiring, but as the deep dive, we have to look at this critically. We can't just drink the Kool-Aid without looking at the label. What are the strengths of this approach, and where do we need to be careful?
The greatest strength is undoubtedly the empowerment. It gives you agency. It stops you from feeling like a helpless passenger in your own body.
I agree.
And it bridges the gap effectively. Dispenza uses the language of science neurotransmitters, gene expression, to explain concepts that are often dismissed as woo-woo. He makes the mystical mechanical. He gives you a how-to manual for your own brain.
Which I really appreciate. I need the mechanics. I need to know how it works, otherwise I won't do it.
However, we must be balanced. One major critique, and I think it's valid, is that the book can be interpreted as too optimistic. It can inadvertently make people feel guilty if they don't heal.
Oh, I can see that. The blame the victim trap. Oh, I still have cancer. I must not be meditating hard enough. I must have bad thoughts.
That is a very dangerous and toxic place to be. We have to remember, healing is complex. There are environmental factors, genetic mutations, physical injuries, toxins. The mind is powerful, extremely powerful, but it is one piece of a very complex puzzle.
It's not the only piece.
Sometimes biology is just biology.
Right. If you live next to a toxic waste dump, positive thinking might help your resilience, but it won't remove the uranium from your water.
Exactly. Also, scientific critics often point out that Dispenza's use of quantum physics is, let's say, metaphorical.
Quantum gets thrown around a lot in self-help. It's usually a red flag for scientists.
It is. He talks about the observer effect, how observing a particle collapses it from a wave of possibility into a particle of reality, and he maps that onto healing. If I observe my health, I collapse the reality of health.
Which works as a poetic metaphor, but
Physicists would cringe. Connecting subatomic quantum mechanics directly to macrobiological healing is a massive leap. It hasn't been proven that your mind collapses wave functions in your liver.
I see.
So I tell listeners, take the quantum stuff as a useful philosophy of possibility, not necessarily as hard physics. Don't get hung up on the quantum jargon. Focus on the neuroscience, which is much more solid.
And the big disclaimer, this is not a substitute for a doctor.
Absolutely not. Dispenza himself usually frames this as complementary. If you have a broken leg, get a cast. If you have a raging infection, take antibiotics. Modern medicine is great for acute trauma.
Right.
But for chronic, lifestyle-related, stress-induced conditions, that's where the mind-body work shines. Don't use your mind to fight the treatment. Use your mind to support the treatment.
Plus the effort required. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. This isn't a magic pill. It sounds harder than training for a marathon.
It is mental exercise. Breaking the habit of being yourself is likely the hardest thing a human can do. It requires constant vigilance. You have to catch yourself every time you slip into the old emotion. It's a 247 job.
You are rewiring 40 years of neural concrete.
It's exhausting.
But the payoff is potentially life-changing.
The payoff is freedom. Freedom from the past and freedom from the automatic programming of your body.
So let's bring this all together. We started with the sugar pill, the proof that the body can heal itself if given the right signal. We realized that thoughts create emotions, and emotions are the chemical signals that program our genes.
We learned that we can get addicted to our own stress, and that to heal, we have to break that addiction through awareness and mental rehearsal. We have to stop being the old self.
And we learned that by entering a deep meditative state, slowing down from beta to alpha and theta, we can install a new program. We can rehearse the future until the body believes it is the present.
That is the roadmap. It's about moving from being a victim of your history to becoming the master of your destiny. It is about proving to yourself that you are not hardwired, you are soft-wired, and you hold the pencil that redraws the connections.
I think for the listener, even if you aren't dealing with a serious illness, this is huge. This isn't just about sickness.
Oh, absolutely. The same mechanism applies to everything. Want a new career, a better relationship, you have to mentally rehearse it. You have to feel the confidence and gratitude of that new job before you get it.
Because if you walk into an interview feeling like a failure living in the past, your body language and chemistry will broadcast failure.
And people will pick up on that signal. But if you walk in feeling the gratitude of having already succeeded, you broadcast a completely different signal. You create the reality by being the reality first.
This has been a fascinating dive. It really makes you rethink every stray thought that crosses your mind. It's almost a little scary.
It is, but it's also the ultimate responsibility. It makes you realize that your internal monologue isn't just noise. It's a series of instructions you're giving to yourselves.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought, something to chew on as you go about your day. We talked about how the body can't tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. So ask yourself this: what imaginary stress are you currently making real in your biology right now? Is that argument you're having in the shower with your boss, the one that isn't actually happening, worth the chemical toll it's taking on your heart?
That is the question. Is the emotion worth the injury? Choose your thoughts wisely.
Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.